I wondered if we needed to like prep some kind of question, but I kind of don't like when people start with questions with the cold open. No. Not that I don't like it. I should say I like that it is just like us in the middle of a conversation. But then I'm like, should we do it to like structure, like have something organized?
Not everything has to have structure.
Yeah.
I like it being fast and loose.
Fast and
I play fast and loose with the rules.
Michael is fast and loose.
Can't keep me down. You sound like a mom in the 1960s criticizing her son for staying out too late. You're like, Hunter is out there playing fast and loose with his life.
On this episode of Sips and Clips, we're hanging out with the brilliant Sarah Russell, a first assistant editor with serious chops and a resume that spans the country, from Iowa City to Austin to Hollywood. Sarah walks us through her journey as a PA on Law & Order SVU, grinding through late-night shifts in reality TV, leveling up to first assistant editor on major projects like Don't Look Up, Your Place or Mine, The Creator, Walker, and Pulse. She spills the tea on navigating Hollywood chaos with grace, running high-pressure cutting rooms like a pro, bouncing between features and TV, and how she's elevated spreadsheet wizardry to an actual art form. Welcome to this episode of Sips and Clips. My name is Leanne McFalls.
My name is Michael Susterman.
We've got a wonderful guest here today, Sarah Russell. She is an assistant editor in the film industry. But of course, because last time we forgot, so I'm going to start right off the bat. We got to talk about what we're sipping on.
Did we forget?
Yes, we forgot last time.
With Marie's episode?
Alan.
Oh, with Alan.
With Alan. There was a whole thing about it.
There was a whole thing about it. We didn't get really far in that episode.
So yes, let's start with what we're sipping on. Sarah, you have...
Yeah, I got a iced latte with some almond milk.
With almond milk. Classic. I wonder who ordered that one.
Sarah did. I don't know why you're pointing to me. Sarah ordered her own coffee.
I did choose my own coffee this time. This time they let me choose my own. It was great.
Michael forcing almond milk upon people.
It's funny. I was Sarah's PA and then Sarah's apprentice for my first two shows. And so part of that job is you memorize everybody's coffee order.
Yeah. So
I still have it burned into my memory.
Yeah, I used to. Well, I still like my other coffee order.
But what I really wanted to... Sarah has this very interesting water bottle with her too.
Oh yeah, the water.
And this is really what... I mean, yeah, she's drinking a coffee and, whatever. But I really want to know about this water bottle. She came in and it lit up. The bottom of it lit up, not the whole bottle. But I'm going to have her explain what it is.
It keeps track of your water intake. You can connect it to an app and you can track... Michael is laughing at me. You can track how many ounces you're drinking. I mean, hey, if you're trying to keep track, it's much easier to do that
I think it's
than just remember.
Yeah.
Or you could be like a normal person and carry around those giant water bottles that tell you the time. Oh, it's drink this, keep it up.
So the cool thing about this, it has the light up thing. So it does, you can have it set reminders for you. So if you haven't taken a sip in a while, it'll light up.
Does it have is there a speaker in it or it's just
No, it's just
visual.
The visual.
Oh, I would love it to ding too.
I would kill somebody in an office who had
that would
be... I think I would, if I heard a dinging water bottle in an office, I would go over and be like, hey, can I see that? And then just smash the speaker and be like, there you go.
You have it connected to your phone. So you tell it when you say, I need to drink at every, let's just say 2 hours. I know it's kind of long, but every 2 hours. So then every 2 hours it would light up if you did not take a sip of it?
Kind of. I mean, basically you just say remind me. You don't set a time or anything. It's just periodically if you haven't lifted it. It does it by weight, I think. So if you haven't lifted it up or moved it around.
Let's not be confused with Smart Water. I'm curious about what brand this is. I know we're not.
What? Do you think
what kind of water bottle? This one is Hydrate Spark. They have different sizes
Hydrate Spark. Smart Water? The brand Smart Water?
The brand?
Yeah.
It's not actually smart.
I know, but it's a smart water bottle.
Oh, it's a smart water bottle. Oh,
it's a smart water bottle, not to be confused with smart water.
Yeah.
What brand is this water bottle?
I see.
So now we have Michael thinks this is a very millennial thing.
I don't really
to have a
understand
light-up
that,
water bottle.
actually.
I don't know if I really have that.
It's a
either.
millennial. I think it's a very millennial thing just to like be like, I have to like manage my water intake. Although to be fair, like the Stanley Cup craze was a very big Gen Z thing.
That's a Gen Z thing.
Certainly another level
I mean,
craze.
for me, I'm just trying to be a little healthier, and I know drinking water is supposed to be good for you.
Well, now you're making the rest of us look bad. There you go.
Speaking of millennial and Gen Z, I know that everybody was on the edge of their seat wanting to know the results of our poll on Instagram.
Oh.
When the question was, is avocado toast and Starbucks Gen Z or millennial? There were 5 votes for Gen Z and 31 for millennial.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Michael was
I'm
right.
in touch with the people.
Michael was right.
People.
I think also the funniest thing was that I posted that as the story for our Sips and Clips pod Instagram. And then I went to my page and I was like, I'm going to vote. And I voted millennial, even though my side was Gen Z. And then I couldn't change it. I was like, no, it's gone. So
what can I say?
Anyway,
Well, the
Let's
avocado
tear up
toast.
the
I mean,
millennials.
I remember when there were like articles about millennials buying too much avocado toast.
can't afford
and so,
homes
Yeah,
because
and
they're
so
buying too
therefore
many
we can't
avocados.
buy a house. Like, what are you even talking about?
I guess I was wrong. Michael, what are you sipping on?
Oh my God, we didn't even do that.
We still
Almond
gotta
latte.
keep going.
Yeah, wow.
Cinnamon
Almond
dulce
latte.
almond latte.
Simple
Like
almond
always.
latte.
A cinnamon dulce almond latte.
Oh, it's cinnamon dolce.
That sounds really good.
Cinnamon dolce. I'm an American, goddammit.
I feel like I have to correct him. I am sipping on a vanilla sweet cream cold brew. Michael was very kind to get us all Starbucks this morning.
How millennial of us.
How millennial of
How millennial. I actually probably, which is funny because I probably drink more Starbucks than like most people I know, which is not a good thing. It's not like I'm proud of it. It's just like that's become my like default if I'm on the run.
I do want to tell our listeners, I finally did it. I bought a tea kettle.
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh,
I splurged the $10.
I've been giving Leanne shit because she microwaves her water for tea, and I was like, this is.
I had a tea kettle brewed water in my tea this morning.
I'm so
and
proud of you.
I thought that Michael would be very proud of me.
does sound very, grown up of you. Good job.
I've done it, pulled the trigger, pulled the $10 out of my savings. I was really saving for that tea kettle, you know?
But we have Sarah Russell with us here today on the show. And
Yes.
for those of you who don't know, Sarah was my former first assistant on 4 films.
Yeah, actually,
4 films. 4
technically
films.
it was 4.
And I asked Sarah to come on today to talk about being a first and kind of continue our ongoing series of interviewing notable firsts in the industry. And,
Ooh,
and
notable.
I would say so. I thought it was 4 big movies.
Yeah,
It's 4 large
okay.
films.
And we have been wanting Sarah to come on for a while. So we're very happy that she was
Yes.
able to come
Yeah.
on. Another woman assistant editor that we've got.
Yeah, we got to
in our
represent.
pocket. Yes.
Seriously, though.
But anyway, we always like to start these interviews just with chatting at first a little bit about what got you into the film industry, what drew you specifically to post-production, and then, if you have a fun story about what you got you into filmmaking in the first place.
Also, like if you're not from California, how you got out here.
Yeah. Honestly, I got into filmmaking as a kid. I was in probably like 4th or 5th grade. Well, I had always been into like creative stuff. Like I played music. My parents played music, and I wrote plays and wrote a lot of stuff just like in school and all that when I was a kid. So I was always creative. But around like 4th, 5th grade, I think my parents got a camcorder. And so there was one summer, where I was like, I had my sister and my friend down the street, and I don't even know like really how we came up with it, but we were like, let's make a movie. And even that first time we made something, I was the director. Like I was not in it. I was the one filming it.
You wanted to be behind the scenes.
Yeah. And we made Horror of the Freaky Hair Day.
Jesus.
You remember that?
Wow,
Oh my
Horror of the
gosh.
Freaky Hair Day.
Now, did you guys finish it?
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, I don't think,
like,
I mean, at the time I didn't have like, editing software or anything. I'm pretty sure it was like all in camera. Like
edits,
I just filmed, we were like, film the first scene first, turn it off, go to the next thing, I think that's what, and that was it. But we did do the whole thing.
Which is very impressive because I feel like as a kid, when you're with your friends and you're like filming something, usually you like come up with an idea and it's like, let's do this. And you do it for like a day and then it like just kind of like fizzles out.
I know it's funny because I think there was a trend. I don't know when it stopped or why it was going, but like early camcorders, it was like you could start and stop recordings on them. And like that's how I made my first films as a kid. It wasn't like I was editing software, whatever. It was literally like you would just press record, and then when you wanted to go to the next thing, you would press stop record. Then
we were on like the one I had was the mini DV tapes.
There
so
you
I
go.
mean, you would just like rewind. You film
just
something,
record to the tape.
and then you're like, "Ooh, that wasn't good." You rewind, go to the spot that you want to be.
Re-record it.
Smarter than me.
Again.
Smarter than me.
So by the time when you finished, you had a tape that was a full film on it.
Yeah, it was basically done. Yeah.
Smarter than me because instead of rewinding it and taping over it, we just kept going. So it was like, take, laugh,
Was
done.
it mini DV or was
tape, laugh, done? Yeah, I think it was.
So you're making films
Go
with your
ahead.
friends. You were a theater kid.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I never really like acted in plays, so I don't
Really?
know if technically I was a theater kid, but I was a creative kid.
Weren't you like a singer?
I did a lot of music. I was in like a show choir and did like musical stuff, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But I did a lot of all those movies. Basically we did that one and I got really obsessed with it. So I think it was during the summer and we made like 4 or 5 things that summer.
Wow.
How old are you?
I don't know. I think it was around 4th or 5th grade.
Okay, you're 9 or 10.
Yeah. And then that just became my thing that like anytime I was on like a summer break or we went, over the holidays to my grandparents' house, I would get my cousins to we'd all make something like every time we were visiting. And I just got really obsessed with it. So then the art club in high school had a little film festival that they did. So at that point, I had made a new friend she was into acting and writing. And so we just started writing stuff together. And so we started making a movie for this little high school film festival every year. So we made like four movies, one each year of high school. Also, my parents had showed me like different movies over the years, but like the thing that really like sparked my interest was like Hitchcock movies when they showed me that stuff when I don't remember how old I was, probably middle school or something. But
Imagine 9-year-olds are watching Psycho. And
no,
I'm like,
I wasn't quite that young. I think I was a little older than that.
She made a horror of freaky hell.
Yeah.
You think she would be into
totally
Hitchcock?
comparable to Serial Killer in the Bates Motel.
I'm
I got really into the whole like psychological thriller thing. So basically, all the stuff I made
Rear
in high
Window
school was like these movies with like a twist and like dark themes and all that kind of thing.
Child psychologist would have a day with you and Zachary.
It wasn't horror movies exactly. It was more just like
suspense.
Exactly. Kind of mystery suspense.
It was just being like, wow, this is like making me feel really on edge. That's crazy.
And then, at some point in high school, my parents I was obviously into it enough. They got me an editing program, but it was Pinnacle, if anyone remembers that.
I remember Pinnacle.
I never heard of Pinnacle.
Yeah. That was a really niche one.
Yeah. What system does it? Is it Windows, Mac?
It was both? Windows, I believe, because we didn't have a Mac computer at home. So that was like the first thing. And I figured out how to, because it was still the mini DV tape. So I had to, like basically plug it into the computer, play it back to like record it into the computer. I was
like, Pinnacle still exists.
Yeah, maybe it does.
It does,
I don't know.
Wow.
But that's how I was like learning to edit, was on that when I was in high school. So anyway, by the end of high school, I basically like knew, like I was into it enough that I was like, I want to go to film school. And my parents fortunately were like very supportive.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to film school. So I basically started just applying to colleges that had good film programs. And that's how I ended up going to the University of Texas at Austin.
Go Longhorns.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never even like really heard of the school before, but I was just researching places, and that was one of the places that had a good film program.
And where are you from?
Oh yeah, so I grew up in Iowa.
Iowa. Okay. Yeah.
So I was in Iowa City, which does have a university, had University of Iowa, but they didn't really have any film program there.
Okay. Yeah.
How did you like Moody? When did you come to LA? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked being in Austin. That city's so fun. I mean, just they have a lot of their own, they have film festivals. They have Alamo Draft House, where that started. I was obsessed with that in college. I went to Alamo Drafthouse like all the time. I mean, I love going to the one here, but like going to the originals in Austin is like
there's nothing better than the original.
Yeah, exactly.
This is probably like one of the biggest arguments I've gotten in with like other LA people, but I'm like, the model forward for Hollywood should be the Alamo Drafthouse. Like the Alamo Drafthouse, I think Hollywood and the film industry should be a Applebee's with a movie studio attached to it, basically. Like that's what I think. Like we should be a dining, like first focused business that basically serves movies on the side, like the Alamo Drafthouse does. Then they've also got the bar in the bottom normally, and they've got like trivia nights, and they make it a little community center.
Events.
Yeah,
I mean, they make it a place
Yeah.
where you can go every single night of the week and hang out, and then they just happens to have a really lovely movie theater attached to it.
So you went to Alamo Drafthouse. You really covered the Texas film scene. You were
I mean, and I went to like they always had like events and stuff, so I would go to like film events. They had South by Southwest, so I get some kind of I didn't do like the full ticket because it was like, pretty expensive, but I would try to go to at least some of the events
like a day
every
or
year.
something. Yeah,
just got really involved in the film school, or I guess communications was what it was. So at that point, like I knew I wanted to make movies. I didn't have like a focus at that point of what I specifically wanted to do. But the cool thing about UT was for your film major, they didn't have a lot of specifics you had to do for the film classes. It was basically like 2 or 3 intro classes, and then you could just pick whatever you wanted. And so I did the intro classes. And in one of my very first ones, we kind of went through, all the different parts. You were like, oh, you're writing, you're directing, you're doing cinematography, you're doing editing, all that stuff. And when we got to the editing part, just like talking about how you like crafted the story and like putting all the pieces together and like rearranging it, rewriting it kind of in some ways. I just actually remember like sitting in class being like, yeah, like that is the part that is so fun. And like thinking back to making movies in high school and editing on my own, like that was always the stuff that I had the most fun doing. It wasn't like actually shooting it. Like that was fun. And then I'd be like, oh man, I can't wait to get back and like go put all this together. And so I think that's kind of when I was like, I think maybe that's like the thing I want to focus on. And so after that, I just went and like signed up for all the editing classes.
At UT.
At UT, yeah.
What programs were you using at UT for
So
editing?
they had Final Cut mostly. Final Cut 7. But then in the specific like editing focused classes, they did have some computers that had Avid, and they did teach you Avid in like at least one of those classes. And I did have to cut some stuff in Avid on. So I learned Avid a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was like, I didn't know it super well. So I knew some Avid, but not a lot. I mainly used Final Cut 7. And then I also just started editing a bunch of like any friends' movies and that kind of thing. And like, I did do some classes where they made movies and you would kind of like be in groups. So like I would do the editing for those groups. And then there was like a thesis project class that you could do.
Yeah.
So my friend and I decided to submit our project for that. And it was a musical.
I love it.
You showed me this. I've seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, because I was still really into music. I started writing music in high school also. Like I played piano and would write songs. So I was like, oh, I can write the music for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we wrote a superhero musical.
That's awesome.
That was really fun because I got basically one of the sound engineering students who was also doing like a thesis, got him involved. And so he did our project for like his thesis.
Okay.
And so we went and recorded all the music at the music school, got my friend to go like figure out how to make superhero costumes and went and found a bunch of locations and like did the whole thing. I mean, it was crazy. It was a lot of people and it was a lot of hard work. It was like, that was my last semester at UT that I did
It's crazy to go, at least when I went to film school, to have that experience where you go from like making high school projects like with your friends in a backyard or whatever and like to go like actually planning a production and like doing budgets and like figuring out production insurance and figuring out location permitting, like doing that for the first time really puts some hair on your chest. It really like makes you aware of like the full breadth and scope of trying to do this stuff. It gives you such an appreciation the first time you do it, really.
Yeah. And I think it also made me realize for sure, I'm like, definitely don't want to be a producer.
I feel like we always have those moments too, right? Like I would always be an extra for my friend's stuff. And every single time I would go to set and I'd be like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. And then I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And then they would ask me like a month later, I'd be like, oh, would you be next year? And I'd be like, it might not be as bad as last time. And then I'd go and I'd be like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Why am I doing this? I never want to do this again. And that would be on repeat until like senior year. And I had to be like, say no, Leanne. Like, you know that you hate this. Don't do it. Like, you think that it's going to be different. It's not. Like, it's not going to be any better than last time. Like, just don't do it.
There's some people though, like I tell when I'm chatting with people who are applying to film schools, I always tell them like, you may think you want to do editing or you may think you want to do directing or whatever. Like, you should try everything. You never know.
Yeah,
like some people pick up a C stand for the first time and they literally couldn't imagine doing anything else for the rest of their life. It's really odd what captivates people's attention. I mean, even editing, it's like we're locking ourselves in a fucking closet for like 6 months, right? Like, it's not exactly like a terribly glamorous, you know, there's no glitz and glamour. There's no red carpets. Like it's all office work, you know, tacked on.
But I did realize, I think like, I mean, I think obviously every job on a film is creative in some way. But I do think there are some that just feel like there's a little bit more of that than others. And I think 100%. Editing is definitely, it's one where like, that's kind of your whole job.
Right.
And I do feel like sometimes if I'm like on a set, I just think that I don't always feel that as much because I think there's certain jobs that just, you know, obviously if you're the director, if you're the actor, if you're like doing the setting up the shots, obviously that's creative, but there's so many jobs on set that you're doing a little more like kind of grunt worky stuff. And that doesn't, it feels like you're a little bit more removed from the creative part of it.
You're just like going through the steps of everything.
And sometimes. I know that we have that too as an assistant editor, obviously.
Right. We do have that as well.
You were not always, but I think you're close to it in a way that that I really enjoy still.
So after college, how did you make the move out here? Did you come right away or did you take some time?
Yeah, I did come right away. I actually came kind of during because UT had a program where you could come for a semester in LA. Yep. You know about that. Yeah. And so I decided to do that. And I actually graduated a semester early. So it was my fall of my senior year. And that's the semester I decided to come to LA because I was like, okay, you know, if I just come my last semester, if I want to stay, I'm already here. So I basically was in Austin for 3 years. And then that first semester in the fall, I came to LA to do my semester here, finished. And I met some friends through that who were also wanted to stay. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to stay. Because if I don't, you know, I felt like if I left and tried to come back, like, it would just, the momentum is gone. I don't know if I would have come back or not. So I was like, I got to just stay and see what happens. So I got an apartment for, I got an apartment with 2 friends. We moved, I basically went back home, graduated, got more stuff, came back and moved into the new apartment in I guess it must have been January of 2011. I've always been sort of like if this is the thing I'm doing, I set my mind to it and I'm like, I'm sticking this out till the end kind of personality. So I think for me, if I had come out here, I was like, I'm going to try really, really hard. And if for some reason, eventually it doesn't work out,
Sarah's water bottle is lighting up.
Sarah, the water bottle.
Okay, I gotta take a sip of water.
Time for a break.
Pause for the water bottle break. The water bottle demands it.
The water bottle is like, I don't care about your story.
You need to drink water.
See, now it's celebrating that I drink water.
Oh, and then it celebrates. I love it.
But looking at your IMDb, your first production is in 2011, so it didn't take terribly long for you to go from getting here.
No, well, I think I was fortunate. I was lucky in some ways, obviously. Also, I think just the film industry in general was not, the way it is currently. So there was more stuff. And also there was a lot more just network TV and that kind of thing at the time. So, but I didn't get a job literally immediately. At first I did the whole coffee meetup thing. I asked some teachers at my school, hey, do you have contacts in LA? And so I got a few contacts through them who I tried to do coffee meetups with. And then I also was getting the advice of get IMDb Pro and start emailing or calling editors that you like or shows that you like or something. And so I did that. Let's see. I actually at the time was really into watching Dexter.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a big deal at the time. So I emailed an editor who worked on Dexter that I got his info off of IMDb Pro.
Nice.
I will say to
Yeah.
all listeners out there, one of the things to invest in is IMDb Pro. It is a yearly subscription, but you can get, some people do have their like personal email contact on there that you can like reach out to if you're trying to reach someone. And sometimes it's easier than trying to like Instagram message them, or
Sometimes you can find a website. Sometimes you can find all kinds of things.
sometimes you can find the
emails.
website, but I have found a lot of like personal emails through IMDb Pro that I've been able to reach out.
Were you doing a job while you were doing all this? Were you working at Starbucks or something?
At first I wasn't, but I did eventually get a job at
retail job?
Starbucks in the
Was it
Barnes and-
Starbucks?
It was
You were-
Starbucks in Barnes and Noble.
Oh my God. You were a Starbucks satellite location.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I actually held out for a little bit. I think I spent a couple months not working, just
Yeah.
looking for jobs. Funny enough, I got that job at Starbucks and I got a PA job 2 weeks later.
Oh,
so
God. You didn't last long.
So I had to quit. So I only worked there for 2 weeks.
That's so funny.
At least for me at the time, I didn't really have much of a resume.
You were a college.
I was,
You just was a
yeah.
college
so
grad,
I think
yeah.
they didn't really.
College grad looks a little bit more impressive than like
Yeah.
film resume for a Starbucks job.
Yeah, well, it's just like, oh, they just graduated college. We can get a year at work out of them.
Yeah.
Was the first show you got Iceland?
Yes. So basically, that the Dexter editor that I had emailed, he ended up calling me pretty quickly after I had messaged him, and I met up with him and his assistant editor for coffee. They were working on a indie feature, I think, at the time. So I got to like go to their office. They showed me around.
Whoa, that's so nice.
And
Yeah.
and then he gave me this like contact list that he had through the union that was all the like post departments at the different studios. And I took that and I emailed my resume to like every studio
Wow, Jesus.
Wow.
or every like email.
Post super of like,
It was like, whoever does post it was like
CBS or
Sony
whatever.
and Sony and see, wasn't, I don't know, I think it was Netflix at the time, but it was like, all the other ones. And yeah, and then I guess my resume got sorted into some pile somewhere, and then like a Sony pilot came up, and they contacted me.
You're
from
off
that.
to the races.
Yeah.
You're off to the races with that.
And so that's how I got. So Iceland was a pilot for, I think it was like Fox maybe, but it was made through Sony.
wow. And then how did you end up? Because I remember, I think when I've chatted with you about your career, your most defining early job was Law and Order, right? So how did that happen?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, yeah. So I did the Iceland pilot for like a few months. Then it's actually the same, that assistant editor I'd met up with, the Dexter assistant. She didn't work on Dexter, but she worked with that editor. I think I like contacted her again, and then she happened to know some people who were doing a movie, and I got on as a PA onto a Tyler Perry movie.
Oh, Good Deeds.
Good Deeds. And then I did that for like 6 months or 7 months or something. And then after that, I don't remember how I connected with the Law and Order people, but it was through somebody I'd worked with.
Bum, bum.
Yes, and I got this PA job on Law and Order, but that was crazy because I most PA jobs you like do one interview and they're like start tomorrow. I did like 3 interviews at least or something. They were
Wild.
being really picky.
Wild.
Wow.
And I was kind of confused. I think once I started, I think I kind of sounded like their previous PA hadn't been very good or something, and so they were like they were like, oh,
They gotta make
Gotta,
sure
like, make
that
sure
this
you're
one's gonna
great.
be good.
It's so funny too, because when you chat with people who don't work in film, and I tell them they're like, well, how do you get a job? And I'm like, well, somebody calls me on Thursday and says, hey, are you available? Can you submit your resume for this thing? And I go, sure. I'll normally then get a phone call on Friday, and they say, at the end of that phone call, they very well may say, awesome, great. Can you start Monday?
Yep.
And then you start Monday, and then you're on that for 9 months. And that's your life. Like, that is how a lot of this works. And that really breaks people's brains who are trying to get a job at, Goldman Sachs or something. And they end up going through like 7 rounds of interviews. And then meanwhile, we're just like, I like the cut of your vibe, kid. Come over here. Let's come work with me for the next year. Okay. Law and Order SVU. Bum, bum.
It was actually a really small, because at that point, obviously there used to be a ton of Law and Orders, but they had been all whittled down, and it was just SVU at the time. They were.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought Law and Order SVU was the only Law and Order.
What, Michael? You need to check
knew that
your
there
Law and
wasn't.
Order lore.
I knew that
Wait,
wasn't.
Oh my-
really?
oh
There's
my-
other Law and Orders?
Law and Order SVU was not the original. I mean,
Yeah.
the original was just Law and Order. And then there was like Law and Order Criminal Intent, and something
yeah.
about, there was like a jury one, I think.
It's basically like NCIS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like NCIS Miami, NCIS like New
I'm
York,
shocked.
NCIS.
This is so embarrassing. Okay, you know what? Okay, here, I'm going to stand on business because I have made this joke to other people that, like, isn't it insane that the TV show that they really wanted to do was about sexual assault victims and make that an entire TV series. Like, that's crazy, right? And everyone's like, yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize it was a spin-off
it's a
of
spin-off.
an existing... That would make way more sense. That that wouldn't be the show you start with.
No.
You would start with they
started with
murders
regular
and
Law and Order.
That was
crazy.
It was that. Yeah.
Here was a list of Law and Order
Oh my
versions.
God.
Law and Order. Law and
Wait,
Order.
there's just a TV show called Law and Order?
Yes, that's the original.
The original.
The original is Law and Order.
And then Law and Order
Then Law and Order SVU, Law and Order Criminal Intent, Law and Order Trial by Jury, Law and Order LA, Law and Order True Crime, Law and Order Organized Crime.
I can't believe I'm learning this for the first time. I thought all of Law and Order was Law and Order SVU.
Wow.
That's like
Michael.
the one,
No.
That's like the one that everybody
You have
knows.
like years of TV shows to catch up. I haven't seen all of them actually.
I mean, what is it? Ice-T is in SVU, like, right?
Yes,
like
he
he's
is.
in SVU. That's the Law and Order.
I mean, the thing is that's become the most famous one.
if I say,
yeah.
man, I'm binging Law and Order, you would not think I'm binging Law and Order Trial by Jury. You would not think that.
You know what, Michael? If you told me I'm binging Law and Order, I'd be like, which one?
That's
I would too.
crazy.
Because honestly, well, the
I didn't
original
know
one and I think Criminal Intent were like, I think those maybe were both around before SVU. I'm not sure of the timeline exactly, but like those were pretty big.
The original Law and Order. I'm reading the Wikipedia page, so I trust Wikipedia. A lot of people don't. Law and Order went from 1990 to 2010, and then I guess it picked up again 2022 to present. Law and Order SVU started in 1999 to present.
So it was like almost a full 10 years before SVU. Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is not a Law and Order podcast.
Yeah,
but
I know.
it is-
Let's
it
just
is-
like
it
spend
is-
another hour talking about it.
This is really blowing my mind. I truly did not know this, and I am upset that I didn't know this.
Well, my point was,
Wait,
is the bump bump thing for all of the series, or
Yeah.
is it just as? This is awful.
this is amazing.
Oh, this is awful.
So we should just have a conversation where we let Michael sit in his he's got to process this. He's got to process the
I know.
embarrassment that he's feeling right now. He's got to.
We need a podcast of Michael watching old Law and Order original episodes. Yeah.
I'm just feeling misled and lied to by who I don't know.
I will back Michael up in this sense. I did know that Law and Order Special Victims Unit was like another version of Law and Order, but I have only really ever seen Special Victims Unit on TV. Like, I don't think that I've seen like in the guide, like Law and Order Criminal Intent. Like, it sounds familiar, but like
I think they used to be played more. Like, I remember seeing them on TV when I was younger, but yeah.
You worked on SVU. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
How did you move from post PA to assistant?
After SVU, I did another PA job on a Fox TV show called Breaking In.
Okay.
It was another Sony show. I've been on the Sony lot like a million times.
So you were a PA for like 2 or 3 years.
No, actually, this all happened within the span of about 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So these, because I'm looking right now, it's just released later.
Yeah, this was like around, when did I start? It was like March 2011, probably, for the pilot. And then through about probably March or April of 2012.
Okay. And then you moved from that to EPK, right?
Yeah, I started like, at some point, I can't remember, but I just started doing the same thing where I sent my resume around everywhere. I started just looking up.
You're like, I need my days now.
Yeah, I just wanted to get union days at the time. I think the apprentice thing is like a lot bigger of a thing now. And I think in the past it had been, but when I was starting...
Yeah, it was kind of dead.
It was kind of dead, and there weren't really apprentice jobs, so that didn't really seem like a viable option. And so everyone at the time, there was a lot of reality TV and that kind of unscripted stuff. So like, basically everyone was just like, go work in unscripted for a little bit to get your days.
First.
No, I started looking up companies of places like that did unscripted stuff and was sending my resume kind of like everywhere. And it was one of those things where you email like everybody and you get like 2 responses back. So at some point, this EPK company did respond to me and they were looking for an assistant editor. And so, yeah, it was basically like EPKs, like behind the scenes featurettes and like interviews and that kind of thing. And it was for like big movies. I mean, I remember at the time it was like Pitch Perfect was like a big one that we were working on, and like that Dark Shadows, that like Johnny Depp the vampire movie,
Dark Shadows, yep,
things like that. So like, but we were obviously not working on the movie. We were doing like this promotional stuff for it. So I started working at that company. It was really a small company. It was just like there were two permanent assistant editors, me and one other person, and then we had a couple like a freelance people who would come in and out. And then, you know, what's funny is like, it was, number one, it was really close to my apartment. It was a small company, so everyone became, you know, really good friends. I started, you know, hanging out with everybody there. And I was learning stuff. We were using Final Cut 7 at the time. And so I did learn a lot, but then, you know, you get kind of comfortable. So I ended up staying there for like 2 years, which is like, wasn't my original plan.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was like, oh, it's a good job. And like, I like all the people and, you know.
And is that how you got your days?
Yeah. I mean, I had more than enough at that point.
Right,
you know?
2 years.
Yeah. I had plenty of days. But then there was this thing where we were trying to, Final Cut 7 was kind of dying. It was starting. Yeah. And so that company was like, we were trying to switch to Avid, but we were like, had some things were on Avid and some weren't. And I think in my head, I was just like, I need to go work somewhere where I'm just like working on Avid, because I really want to make sure I like learn Avid. So I think after those 2 years, eventually I was just like, I got to find something else. My friend was working at a reality company at the time, and I mentioned this to her, and she's like, oh, we have like night jobs. I could see if they need an extra person kind of thing. And I was like, okay, you know. So yeah, so then I ended up getting a night assisting job at this, it was actual reality TV then. It was like, there was a company that produced a bunch of shows like Food Network and that kind of thing. And so I worked nights there for 5 or so months. And then I was like, I'm over this. Switch me to days or I'm leaving. I mean, basically, yeah. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I like went to the post supervisor or producer and was like, hey, like, please,
my mental health is
please switch me to days, or otherwise I'm going to probably leave. But then they did. So I switched to days there.
You're like, darn it. I was trying to leave.
I know. I was like, it was a job. It was a decent job. And I did learn. I mean, once again, I learned a lot there. I mean, that's the thing is like, I tell people reality, it sucks in some ways, but you also learn so much there because you know, you have to like do everything. Like they just hand you camera cards and you're the one like backing it up and transcoding it and setting up the project. You also do a bunch of the onlining stuff. So like there's a lot of like before and after that, like for us in scripted, like a post facility does, that like we have to do ourselves. So like I learned a lot. Like by the time I finished there, I was just like, okay, yeah, I know Avid really well. I know how to do all this like technical stuff. So I mean, that was good. But once again, like eventually after I switched to days, I think I was on days for like, again, maybe like 4 or 5 months or something. And I finally was just like, what am I doing? Like I wanted to work in scripted. Like I need to figure this out. Like I obviously have days, like I can join the union if I want to. I just got to like get back to like what I was trying to do. And so once again, I started doing the coffee meetup thing again. And
so you did a lot of just like cold reach outs to people.
Basically every stage of like trying to move to something different.
You were just
You're like pounding pavement.
Wow. Yeah.
I won't say I was never lucky. I definitely had moments of being lucky, but I did a lot of the whole, like, I just got it. Like when I decided I need to do the next thing, I just have to like, I got to do it. I got to reach out to the people and make this happen. So I reached out to some people. One of the people was Joanne Yarrow, she also went to UT, and I got her contact through a professor at my school. She was like, oh, you want to meet up for like dinner, coffee, whatever. So I think we met up for dinner actually. And so we were hanging out. She was really cool. We were like getting along. I was telling her about myself and all this stuff. And like halfway through, she was like, so I do have a show I'm going to be starting soon. It was a scripted show, and it was a show called American Crime that was on ABC. She kind of stealth interviewed me because the first half of the conversation, I didn't know it was an interview. And then like,
I feel like that's been happening lately, of like you meet up with someone and you're like just chatting, and then all of a sudden they're like, so what are you interested in doing? And I'm like, all right, this is good. I'm going to sneak it in right now.
You can always kind of tell when you're in those weird situations, you're not. They go, so how well do you know Avid? It's like a random question you're having while you're talking about coffee, and just randomly they slip in. They go like, "You ever sunk dailies before?" Really, like, you're just like, That's a weird question, but yeah, whatever.
She was really good though, because like I really had no idea for the first hour or something. I thought we were just doing a meet and greet. And like halfway through, she just said, would you be interested in this? And I was like, yeah, I definitely would. I really liked her. We got along. And things just sort of like fell into place and I got really lucky. She definitely took a chance because, I didn't obviously have any scripted experience. But I think she sort of was trying to like boost up, like number one, another female editor. And then just someone new who like she felt
hadn't gotten the chance
could use a chance. Exactly. So I always think about that and like try to pay that forward because I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. So I know you bounced around in TV for a long time. And you still go back to TV. I mean, you're on a TV show right now, right? Mm-hmm. But your first feature listed on your IMDb is Goosebumps 2. And then I know Charlie's Angels after that. So how did you go from TV to feature? Yeah, so I ended up working with Joanne for a couple of years. We worked on maybe 4 shows together, something like that. She like taught me so much. Like I think of her as a mentor. I learned so much through her just about scripted and how it all worked and like just being creative in general, like editing and all that stuff. And so she knew I was always interested in working on features. And she had previously been an assistant on a bunch of features prior to becoming an editor. So she had contacts there. So an editor that she had worked with before was going to be starting Goosebumps 2. And she was like, hey, maybe this would be a good place for you. And so I was like, okay, like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So she talked to him and he was game and I like interviewed with him and they were basically like, yeah, I think it'll work as a second. Basically, I was going to be a second. Obviously I had a lot of experience, but it was all in TV. So I was a little nervous about that. But I got hired on it. And once I started, I mean, obviously there are some differences just in like schedule, like a few workflow things between TV and features. But like, what I found is like, if you know how to be an assistant editor, you know how to be an assistant editor. Like, I don't think there's actually as big of a divide between the two as some people think there is. Just skill wise, it's a lot more just like, I don't know, like just structure kind of. And like I said, schedule. But anyway, so I went and did Goosebumps 2 and it was really fun. Like it did make me sort of be like, oh yeah, like movies is where I want to be because it was just cool. It was cool having like an office of people where like everyone is kind of like working on the same goal. I mean, on TV you are too, but you're a little more separated because you have your assistant editor and editing teams of like separate episodes. So you're technically not working on everything. And everyone's a little bit more separated. And then like on movies, everyone's doing the same thing together. Right. And it's a little bit longer. You're spending a little more time together. You get to go do previews. Too much time together.
This does trickle in like into this question of, I know you just explained what it's like managing a feature film room and then a TV cutting room, but what would you say are like the key differences besides, length and all that?
From the perspective of like, first thing, managing a TV cutting room versus managing a feature film cutting room, what do you see are the like notable differences? Yeah, I think it's in some ways on a TV show, you are the first assistant for your own episodes. That's kind of like how I would look at it. And you're the only, because you're the only one. You're doing everything yourself. But you also, in some ways, feels a lot smaller because it's just you and your editor. And also on TV, because there's more people, you as an assistant editor are not doing a lot of the like logistical managerial stuff. So like you usually have like a post coordinator, supervisor, post producer. Those are the people who are calling the sound department, communicating with the music department. Okay.
Like, do you ever have? Are there ever like seconds on for a TV show?
I know Marvel does.
Basically, not in my experience and stuff I've worked on. Yeah, I think there are occasionally, like Michael said, some shows like maybe some Marvel stuff that run their TV shows more like a movie. But a second to me is a very feature thing.
Okay. So the supervisors and your post coordinator, they're all the ones that are like communicating with the different departments.
They're taking a lot of the jobs you normally would be doing on a feature.
Yeah. As a first, you're like, you kind of do a lot of that stuff yourself. And on a TV show, it's partially just because you have, basically you're kind of like 3 little teams of people working. And so you kind of want one central like set of people who are doing the communicating out.
I see.
So like that makes sense on a TV show that you would have like these dedicated people, whereas on a movie everyone's doing the same thing, so you just kind of
that makes sense
first.
how did you go from this, you're starting doing features as a second, you're doing a bunch of television, you have all this history. Don't Look Up is your first big, huge feature that you were credited as the first on. How did that happen? How did you meet Hank? And then do you notice a difference between your career pre Don't Look Up and then post Don't Look Up, and like what has that been like, and getting into being a first on larger features after that, what has that been like as well?
Yeah, this is actually kind of a good story, I guess, for like perseverance and just sort of like your schedule is not going to be what you think it's going to be.
Oh, because COVID.
Partially COVID, but even before that for me, because basically, I guess in my mind, I was just like, I have steps, I'm like, I'm a PA and now I'm working in reality and I get my days. Now I'm working in scripted TV and then, oh, look, I made it to features. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on movies now. Like that was like my thought process. But I did Goosebumps. Then I got to go to Charlie's Angels. Then I did Charlie's Angels for like dailies through like part of director's cut. And then there was a change up with editors. So I didn't get to finish that show. So that was sort of this abrupt, like, oh, I'm on this like high. I'm like going on my journey. And then all of a sudden it gets cut off.
Derailed.
And this is before COVID. This is like 2018 or 19, I think. And I was just like, oh no, like, what do I do now? And like, I kind of thought I was on this like certain journey. And then that's when this pilot called Glamorous came up and Joanne was doing it. And it was sort of like, hey, you want to come do this? It was like, oh, it's going to be a couple months. And I was like, all right, I guess I can just do this for a little while and then I'll figure out what to do. So I did that. And then that turned into another Netflix TV show with her. So then all of a sudden
You're back to TV.
I'm back in TV for like this is like 8 months or so, which again, these are great. They were great shows and I loved working with her.
But you liked features
but I really wanted to go back to movies. And so I was just like, oh, like maybe am I doing the right thing? Am I choosing the right projects? Like, how do I go do movies again? Like I was a little down on myself, I think. But I learned that things definitely happen for a reason, because the way I met Hank, Joanne actually had been his second assistant editor before.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
And then there was another editor named Liza Espinas on that show who had been Hank's first for a while. She like worked on The Big Short and a couple other things with Hank. And so I was obviously really cool with both of them. And I actually helped edit a few scenes for Liza's episodes on that show. And then what actually really did it, funny enough, I had to do the gag reel on that show for the wrap party. And I put together this whole thing. I spent like a lot of time on it, tried to make it like really fun and funny. And it got shown at the wrap party. And I remember Liza came up to me and was like, that was so good. Like, you're like really good. Like, do you want to edit some more scenes for me? I was like, sure. And then I think she did that for some reason that like helped sort of like make me stand out a little bit to her. And she's actually the one that had been chatting with Hank and found out he was going to be doing a movie soon, which was Don't Look Up. So she actually recommended me. And so anyway, I guess my point of all that is like, I made this like sidestep, but had I not done that, I don't know if I would have gotten onto Don't Look Up.
But this is all... I keep referencing it, but this is pre-pandemic.
I basically went and I met Hank and did kind of like a little interview with him end of February 2020. And so I got hired and the pandemic happened like 3 weeks later or something is when like everything went crazy.
I think it is really interesting, and we've heard this before in the podcast, but just like the way that things turn out in this industry. There was multiple times where not even that I even had the job, but it was like talked about to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have this job now. It ends at this point. And then it seems like this other one would happen and that would happen after that job. And then cool, I'll be good for like the end of the year. And then none of it happens. And then you're like, well, fuck, now what?
Yeah.
And it is definitely something that I'm having to get used to of like, okay, even if I hear of something, even if the person's like, hey, if this starts up, like I would bring you on, it's still like never certain. It's not official until you sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
And even though I know that, I've definitely still gotten my hopes up over a lot of things. And I've had to just be like, all right, well, moving on. Like, didn't get that. I just got to keep moving on and pushing forward. So
yeah,
I think what you're saying about like perseverance and all that is definitely something that you just have to.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going.
And I mean, I think I still have moments of like, oh, fuck, like, why didn't I do that thing? Or like, why am I doing this now? Like,
100%. Yeah.
But then I've gotten better over the years, just like kind of like I have my down moment and then I brush it off and I'm like, you know what, whatever, moving on. Cause like now at this point, it's like you said, we had pandemic, then we had strikes, and then now we have the current like downturn. Recession. I mean, basically ever since like 2020, things have just been crazy. And so I've had to do a lot of like side steps and like maybe not the thing I thought I would be doing in that time, in the last 5 years. And at this point, it's just like, all right, I'm just going to take this and, we'll go and to do the thing. And like, that's the thing is like, also that I've done a lot of jobs, and not just the Vita thing that led to Don't Look Up, but they've done other stuff where I was like, oh, I don't really know if this is the thing I really want to do, but like, I guess I'll just do it for now. And then that's led to something else that, and then like, you just really don't know what is going to lead you where. 100%. So, but yeah, like the pandemic happened. Don't Look Up was supposed to start in April of 2020. Obviously got pushed. The show I was on, Vita, at the time happened to be ending around mid-March anyway. So I finished that show and then I was just home hiding in my apartment, was waiting to see if Don't Look Up would happen. This was like such a weird time because I was like, I was hired on this amazing job and I was like, I really want to do this, but like, is it going to even happen? Is it going to get canceled? And then finally in November of 2020, they decided to do it.
To move forward with it.
And I was like, thank God. So yeah, we started working from home on that movie in November of 2020. That's when I met Michael.
But now you've had a big illustrious career since then. We don't need to hit every single point. I want to start asking you kind of about, now that you found yourself as this first assistant, kind of a little, some questions about what that job is like, and then where you're at right now with your career and what you're trying to do.
It's funny. I had a friend who told me this once, and I like kind of agree that to be a good assistant editor, you have to have at least two of these three things, which is creativity, organization, and some tech knowledge. And if you have at least two of those, you'll be pretty good at it.
Interesting.
What about time management?
Okay, 4 things, I guess. Sure.
No, I like that. But
no, I do like that, that you've heard this piece of advice. I do like that piece of advice. I'm just going to throw in time management to go 4 things.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That's important too. I guess maybe I put that under the organization umbrella.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I've always been a super like organized person, so I think that definitely helps. Obviously, I like creative. I think I'm good at that. Tech, I've gotten a little better at over the years. I'm not as good as some people. Like, honestly, Michael's great at that kind of stuff.
But I like that. You prioritize this idea that like there are 3 buckets of knowledge that you can really possess. And like, if you have to focus on 2, be really good in 2 buckets. And then,
and I think you can still get by with the other one. I think for me,
lean on your second and your other people to do that other stuff.
Yeah. And like I guess what I'm saying is like the tech thing has not been something that's come like naturally to me, but I've learned a lot of it over the years. And like, I think the biggest thing is every time you work on a project, you learn something new, and then you just have to like write it down or something, or just make sure you remember that thing. I'm pretty good at remembering the things along the way. So I think just like every project I've been on, I just like have just added to the database, So I guess those are like the 3 like principles, I guess, that you would keep in my mind. But I would say overall, like being a first, you're managing people and personalities. I think it's really important to really care about the people that you work with, number one, because like you want to be, you're kind of like corralling people together, especially when you're on a show that is really difficult and you're working long hours and that kind of thing. I think all that other stuff is important, but you really have to be there for your team. And that includes supporting your editor, but it also includes taking care of the people below you. So your seconds and your PA and VFX department, anybody who's there. And
hopefully if you've done your job right, those people can do a lot of the stuff that like they can do some of the technical stuff, the dailies and stuff like that you maybe normally would be doing if you're taking care of the people and you're managing this.
And you want to trust them. Like you want to be able to delegate. Like that's tough when you can't be that person who's just like, oh no, I'll just do it because you can't do it all.
That leads into my next question, which is you get more tasks on a feature than you literally could do yourself. How do you decide what tasks go to you? How do you decide what tasks go to your second? How do you decide what tasks go to your apprentice? How do you personally think about what goes onto your plate and what goes on other people's plates?
I would say like I'm doing the more like day-to-day like needs of the editor, and also just like organizational stuff, any kind of like, we got to like fix something with our Nexus, I'm going to figure that out.
What do you mean by needs of the editor?
Any sort of like random oh, hey, can you make sure this thing gets done? Either I'll do it or I delegate that to somebody else.
But if it's like, if it comes down, it's like, hey, can you clean up the dialogue in this scene? You're like, okay, if I have the time, this is what I want to be doing. I want to be cleaning up this dialogue. I want to do that type of thing myself.
Yeah, I definitely do spend time doing that kind of thing, unless I have other things on my plate in which I will delegate that to somebody else.
So you don't really have specific tasks that you're like, I am always going to do sound cleanup, or I'm always going to,
No, I think it changes.
It just depends on how much you have on your plate, whether or not you want to take that on or just give it off to like your second.
Yeah, and it also depends on if the seconds or apprentice or whoever is already doing something else or not, or if they're available. It's sort of like a always moving target because you don't know who's available, who's busy.
If they're doing something consistently enough, you're like, oh, I always give this daily's process to this person.
Or like, oh, Michael's so good at cleaning up these split screens. Let me hand that to him. Or like, yeah, exactly. If there's like some task that somebody's been like kind of taking care of, I would give that to that person.
Now, do you do turnovers, or are you specifically like, I will not do a turnover, I'm always giving it to my second?
I will do turnovers if I have time. I actually kind of don't mind doing turnovers.
Interesting.
Sometimes. I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm like, oh yeah, let me do them all the time. But like sometimes it's kind of zen just to like, you know, zone out and do that. I wouldn't say that I like on the creator. I pretty much handed off turnovers.
I could chime in here. I know what happened.
I know I did hand it off to you and Zachary most of the time. But I guess I'm not like above doing it myself if I have time.
Yeah,
can help
we're
out.
in crunch mode. You're coming in. You always come in and help.
Yeah.
But I'd say I think on the films we've done together, it's always been that Zachary and I will do the first turnovers together. You'll come up with a process, or we'll come up with a process together. And then generally after that, you don't need to do it anymore.
Right. This is my philosophy on that. I don't think it's like bad for a first to like be like, oh, that's not my job. I agree to an extent. But I think there is going to be certain situations where I'm like, I don't want to just leave my second here by themselves late at night. Like, let me do like one turnover so we can both leave.
I mean, I think, you know, both Creator and Don't Look Up were really big movies, but had pretty small cutting rooms. I mean, I already see you on the features we've done. You spend a lot of your time interacting with production, emailing people and talking to them, that, you know, so I imagine when you're delegating, like that stuff comes first. So
that does always come first, like that kind of coordinating stuff, like that is the priority. And then also just like being in the room with your editor and like either just for feedback or being there coordinating things with them, or like just helping them with any day-to-day stuff. Like that is the priority, I think, as a first. And so like the day-to-day turnovers, sound work, any of that other stuff. It's not that I'm above doing it, but like that does get delegated to the seconds, I would say, in general.
So speaking of those late nights that you're referring to later, where it's like you're doing your late nights and you're trying to get those turnovers, that's usually coming up on the heels of what is like generally a stressful time on a feature. You're not normally doing a turnover at 11 o'clock unless it's really essential that it gets out the next day. And there's you know, pressure on that. How have you managed the stress yourself on a feature? And then how have you learned and managed the stress of other people?
Yeah, that's really tough because I think there's been times that I've gotten a little too like kind of emotionally involved. And it's been really stressful for me as I've kind of like taken on the stress of other people. And I learned over the years that you kind of can't do that. You have to like be there for them. Like I said, it's important to care about your coworkers, and it's like you want to be there and be supportive. And I've always been a pretty empathetic person. So I'm like willing to like listen to somebody being upset about something and being like, I get it. I feel this way too. Like, you know, be supportive. And then you got to walk away and let it go, because that's the part that like I've had trouble with in the past, and that does not do you any good.
I feel like sometimes, and like correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes if you're in that position, you also almost feel like you have to do something. I don't know anybody who's actually ever done anything about it, but I feel like if like one of my coworkers was upset at like something else, like another coworker, I would be like, oh, I have to like fix this. Like as a first, it's like I got to fix the problems around it. But then it's like you just can't do that all the time, because it could either create more problems or it might just give you more stress.
Yeah.
I've also seen you, at least see you develop in your strategies. I think there was especially on Don't Look Up, there was times where like, you know, either both of us staying there really late at night or you staying there really late at night. And then like when we went on to Creator, I think we got better about being like, you take Saturday, you stay here. Like if they're working on a weekend, like, you work Saturday, I need to go do laundry, and we were good at swapping out. Do you feel like that's worked out well for you? Do you bring that on other shows?
Yes. I think that is like really important. I didn't learn that immediately. I would always be like, I have to, like, I'm the first. I have to always be here. I have to be here all the time. I have to be like here until the editor's done. And then eventually I'm like, we have a whole team of people. What use them? Let's all like, we
lean on your team.
We can trade off. It's okay. You can like trust them. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be there for every little thing. I mean, obviously, in general, you are always there, but like, like late nights.
No, but there's this pressure to be like, I'm the first. Yeah. The buck stops with me. I have to, I get it. Like, I have to be there.
Yeah. That's why I think it's really important just to build a team that you really like and trust, and you know that they can do their jobs well. And then make sure everyone is happy and healthy, because it's not cool to have your entire team staying until like 3 a.m. a bunch of nights in a row. Like, that has happened on shows before. It's not healthy or safe for people to do that. And so, you got to push back. Like, I do think there are times you have to push back on that kind of thing within reason. But if you can rotate, like someone starts a little later, leaves a little later, or like, hey, you stayed late last night, I'll stay late tonight. You do Saturday, I'll do Sunday. Like, unfortunately your editor, they just have to do everything, I think. I don't know. Unless you have 2 editors, maybe they can rotate too. But like, at least for the assistants, there is a way, I think, that you can kind of like trade off a little bit when you're in that really, really intense time.
Talk to me about that, because I mean, we've been fortunate enough that, the people that you've worked with on your cutting rooms, I can't speak for you, but I enjoyed our coworkers.
Yes.
Like we had stressful times on our films, but I have really grown to really just enjoy the company. And I think we're fortunate. We're very fortunate that is the case.
Yeah.
But ignoring the people that you are already friends with and you've developed a rapport with, let's say you had to go set up a movie tomorrow and you need to go out and interview a new team. You're going out and building that team for the first time. What strategies would you use to try and ascertain whether or not that person...
What are you looking for?
Exactly. Thank you.
In like a second assistant.
Yeah. I mean, number one, just be confident. I think that's like really important. And then someone who's sort of like willing to go above and beyond, who like just has like, obviously that doesn't mean you have to stay late every night, but like someone who is just like, when you're there, you're giving it like 110%. And like, so you're someone who I can really rely on. I don't want to have to go back and like tell you 3 times to do the same thing. Like, I want to tell you once and you write it down and you do the thing. So just having that kind of level of just like confidence and just I think it's excitement maybe is what you can kind of like see in an interview.
Excitement for what? For
the job, for the project. It doesn't actually, to be honest, it doesn't even have to be excitement for the project itself. It's more about excitement for the job. Because, not every project you work on you're going to love, but if you're excited about being there and being a part of it and like kind of having that attitude of like, I don't know, it is just a job. I know it's just a job, but in some ways having that attitude of like, oh, this is like more than a job to me. And like, this is something that I genuinely just like, am so excited to like dig in and like be a part of, and that kind of like excited energy. I think I think you will try harder and be a better assistant. Because like, even if there's things you don't know, you can learn them. But if you have that like eagerness, then I just think you're more likely to be able to do that.
And there was that saying, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And I feel like the people who do feel like that towards film, editorial, anything, it can kind of come through in an interview, and then they're ego about the actual job as opposed to like what it's on. It's like, I'm in love with the process. I'm in love with the assistant editing work. And that probably can shine through, and that's what people want. I feel like also willing to learn. Do you also find, Yeah,
that's really important.
One of the things that I have found, it's something you taught me and I thought was very normal among the industry. And I've since learned is really not.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of leading into a broader question about like emerging technologies that we kind of had to adapt to use for our shows, but largely being Jump. And then you and I's mutual obsession with Google Sheets that we've had conversations about, which is what I'm referring to, which is the fact that I've chatted with people about spreadsheet uses on their shows, and they go, what do you use spreadsheets for? And I'm like, what do you not use what are you talking about?
So many spreadsheets.
So I kind of want to ask about like, how do you see, for one, I know that, firsthand that we've utilized Jump and remote work on a lot of our projects. How do you find that working in with your philosophy? Like, what do you think about remote work? How does it work for you? And then also, I want to just touch on Google Sheets largely and be like, I use spreadsheets on everything, and it annoys me to no end that for whatever reason, spreadsheets don't seem to be more ubiquitous among our field of work.
That's interesting that you say that.
I will say that I love using Google Sheets. The only times that I have not used it is when they're very, very locked in on like, don't be connected to the internet security wise.
So for me personally, I actually am not a huge fan of remote work.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
But we've had interesting conversations about it where like it is really helpful, like when you're sick.
Oh yeah, I think. To be honest, I think hybrid is probably the best option if that's possible.
I
could do hybrid with like one day at home. Be like, give me like a 3-day weekend, and I'll work really at home on Monday. But I gotta be in the office.
Again, we bring up this laundry thing all the time because sometimes this keeps happening to Sarah and I on shows where we're like, I haven't done laundry in 2 weeks. I really need a day off to do laundry.
Totally,
but if you can like do one day where you work from home, and so you can just do your laundry and clean your apartment. It's
or even like
great.
2 days at home, 3 in the office or something. I think having some FaceTime in
really
person
important.
is just so important. Like for just connections, number one, become friendly with the people you work with and get to know them. Like, I'm way more likely to probably recommend somebody that I've actually worked with in person than maybe I know like only over Slack, you know? And then also just like the random like miscommunications that can happen over like messaging or like, oh, hey, like I wandered into Hank's room for like, hey, I just wanted to ask about like when you want to go to lunch or something. And he's like, hey, look at this while you're here. Oh, I think maybe I feel like that should be a medium shot instead of a close up. He's like, oh, you're right. Let's swap this thing. Like little moments where you're like getting to be involved in the creative process. That just does not happen at home.
Yeah. The edit gets better if you're there. I mean, you're watching it and you're hearing it through the wall and you're like, you're able to see it. Yeah. You're able to just get stuff done faster.
I mean, I love being able to like just walk into somebody's room and be like, hey, what's up? And 100%. Then you get to like chat for a second. And then you're like, oh, hey, can you help me make this spreadsheet?
Yeah.
100% though. And
speaking of spreadsheets.
The other thing too is like when you guys are at lunch, you guys can like, you talk about the film, you get an idea of where things are at, maybe what's coming down the line. Whereas if you're working remotely, there's none of that.
I mean, the beginning of The Creator came out of a joke.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Like the whole beginning of The Creator, which was this sort of like old school montage of like the creation of robots.
An old school commercial,
Yeah. Me and Zachary and Michael were like hanging out at lunch and like joking about it,
literally
and chatting about it.
Shit about it. It was like we were making fun of it. Like, wouldn't it be funny if it was blah,
that was
blah,
like
blah,
the
blah.
beginnings of the idea. And then obviously like expanded way beyond that, but like
welcome to the day of the future. Welcome to blah, 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 blah,
and I will say
robots
I gotta give credit to Zachary because he's the one that actually like
he went and did it.
Went and like put something together.
Google Sheets.
Yes. I mean, my brain, just for like organizing everything, I have to have stuff like that written down. So yes, like ADR list. I have a running for myself. I have like a running to-do list. Just for myself on like every show of like, I just like anything that comes up, I'm like, let me just write that down. And then like randomly, if I have like a down moment, I'll be like, is there something that I need to be doing? And then I go like, I'm like, oh, completely forgot about that. So I have like a Google Doc for myself. I have like ADR. We have like stock footage trackers.
Turnover trackers.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, anything you possibly want to track, we track it.
I only bring this up because I know they're first to listen to our show, and I think this is really helpful. And it's crazy when people don't utilize this. There's been plenty of times when it's literally 11 p.m. and I'm doing a turnover and I don't remember whether or not I need to turn over reel 4. And you get to this part where you're like, shit, do I need to redo reel 4? And if we've done our process right and we're following Sarah's process, we can look at a turnover tracker and I could say, Zachary did reel 4 already. Great, moving on. I don't need to do it. That's already been delivered. And so no communication has to happen. I don't have to go to Sarah's office and look at a piece of paper on the wall and be like, oh, did that get on there? I don't have to ask anybody. It's just done.
Worked with a first, and I think some first do this where they have like a huge like dry erase board on the wall and they'll like track stuff on there too, which I think is actually kind of fun.
That's how
cool.
Esther does
like
it.
That's great.
That's how I've done it before too.
But I do like having the Google thing, so you can just kind of like look at that. You don't even have to like get up and run into the hallway. You can just like look at that, keep track of it there.
I've done both. I know people will use FileMaker for all of their sheets, like continuity sheets or like sound tracking sheets.
We have
all of
FileMaker
that
for our continuity.
Going back to like your organization, because I do think it's kind of helpful to mention, like, you know, you make a lot of lists.
I do.
I really don't like my desk cluttered. So what I'll do is I will have sticky notes for like each task. And so then my desk is littered with sticky notes. And so I'm like, the only way I can clean this off is if I do the task, and then I can like take off the sticky note and like throw it out.
An application that I've been using on my last few shows that's really great. That's a to-do list tracker, and you can assign tasks to people on a team.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I've been using.
My thing with the sticky notes is that you see it.
It's like,
I don't have to go into my phone and do it.
Kind of a pivot, but you know, you've had a career where you've worked with a lot of these notable figures in your life. Editors often talk about this idea of like staying in sync with each other. Like, I want to stay in sync with you, you know. And you and I have worked together on quite a few films, and you know, there's definitely been like a core team that has worked together on all these films. But what do you see are the benefits and difficulties in working in one team consistently versus jumping from team to team?
Yeah.
From moving from editor to editor.
I actually think there is really a lot of value in sticking with one person for at least like a period of time. You just get that kind of rapport that you don't have otherwise. And you already know like their quirks, you know, the ins and outs of just like technically how they work. And so you kind of don't have to like worry about any of that stuff. You can kind of like move beyond it more quickly. And I think you have more opportunities to just do creative stuff, and like if they trust you, they can like throw you more editing stuff, and you can be more involved just in the creative process, which is, at least for me, and I think a lot of assistant editors, we want to be editors. So like that's the thing that, you know, I'm always trying to do, is be more involved in the creative process. And I just think like it's easier sometimes to do that with someone that you know well. And also it's just nice and fun when you get to work with someone that you really like.
Two questions dovetailing off of that. What do you see as when you say a period of time? What do you mean by a period of time? Do you mean 2 films, 3 films, 2 seasons, 3 seasons? And then how do you also see it as, I think sometimes it's really easy to think about this and be like, well, I want to sit with one person and I want to grow and I want to develop. But what happens when you're working with somebody, you've had a really great time working with them, and then you're unemployed for 2 months, and then another show comes along that you don't really want to do. Maybe you don't really like it that much. And that other editor that you really do like says maybe they have something coming down the line, whatever.
Or they don't have anything.
Yeah, and I've had that situation. So that's why I kind of said period of time, which is very vague, because I don't know, that could be 2 movies, that could be 5 movies, that could be 4 seasons of a TV show.
You really mean more than one.
I just kind of mean more than one. Yeah, like you worked with them multiple times.
And you try to stay with them.
Yeah. But I mean, that's happened to me where like, you know, you want to stay with someone if you can, but like they don't have anything, and then you're like, I got to work. So I actually think that's good. Like I think I feel like having a balance. I don't think it's one or the other. Like working with someone for multiple shows is awesome. Then taking a little sidestep and meeting some new people, because that is how you make more contacts. I think that's the other thing, is like, if you do only stay with one team always and forever, you're never going to meet other new people. And like eventually that editor might not be editing anymore, or like what happens if like they just decide to retire or something, and like then you're like, I don't know anybody else.
You also find new skills that you bring back to that cutting room. There's other stuff that you didn't know. There's other things that other people know how to do that you don't know how to do, that your team's never thought of, that when you work with other people, you discover new stuff.
I want to throw another instance at you. You're working with this editor for a while. Though you guys are done, you're unemployed. Someone else comes to you and goes, oh, I need an assistant. The editor that you originally were working with doesn't have anything, so you take that other job. Now you're on this job for, let's say, an extended period of time, a year. Like, okay, your first editor comes back to you 2 months later and says, hey, I got something. Do you leave the job to go with them? Or do you say, I can't, I'm not available, and you stick it with the job that you have?
I think it's
situational.
Yeah. Because it also, you almost have to like think in your mind of like, what am I going to get out of the different jobs? I mean, you do have to be a little selfish, I think, to a certain extent.
Well, you also have to balance as being seen as dependable.
Yes. You also don't want to like burn bridges. I know. It's like, that's why it's like,
it's such
a weird balance. So I think like for me, I'm weighing, like if I was on a job for like 2 weeks, and then they were like, actually, I just got something. Do you want to come do this thing? I'd probably say no, because I'm like,
you just started.
I just started this thing.
You're going to derail this other production.
And and then I'm going to burn a bunch of bridges, and I'm going to get like a bad reputation from leaving those people. And I just don't think that's worth it. If I've been on a show for 5 months and then some other really awesome opportunity comes up, I think that's a little more, maybe I could consider trying to gracefully leave, But you want to be super kind and nice about it and offer to find a replacement, try to give them as much heads up as possible. There's a way to do it that's super kind, and there's a way to just I'm out, peace. You can't just drop a thing. I don't think you ever want to do something that you think you're going to be burning bridges. I think that's probably not worth it no matter what you're on.
I don't think anyone ever really wants to burn bridges.
Yeah.
I have been in situations where I'm I might have to leave this. It's I want to try and leave as gracefully as possible. And even, sometimes even if you do leave in your mind, it's as gracefully as possible. It's still,
you're still leaving.
It still might look, and it's
sometimes
you got to weigh that.
Don't give you that grace, and you don't have the ability to show grace. You try your best, but yeah.
Well, this is, I don't know, sort of an example. The last 2 years have been kind of weird because of the strikes and everything, and jobs coming and going. I had wanted to go work with Hank again, but he didn't have anything. And I was I do want to work. So I ended up getting a job with another TV job last year. I did Walker, which was a CW show with this editor. And then he had another show for Netflix called Pulse coming up that I was yeah, I would love to go do this. But at that point, I had gotten a call that Hank might have a movie, but I didn't know exactly when. And I was it's obviously ideal for me if I get to go do this TV show for a little while. Then whenever this movie happens, I'll leave to go do that. But how can I in good faith go on to this show knowing I might leave? And so I would just decide to be honest because, so that's what I did. Before I started, I talked to the editor. I said, I have gotten this call about this feature. It may or may not even happen. And it's definitely not going to happen until the summer. But I don't know. I don't have a date of when. And this show is going to start in March or April, I think. And so I would have been able to be on it for at least 3 months or 4 months, maybe. And I was I really want to do this show with you. But there's a possibility I would have to leave to go do this other project if it happens, because I really want to go do this other project. He was super cool about it. And he was hey, I really like working with you. Obviously, it's not ideal, but I'd rather have you now. And we'll, if it happens, we'll figure it out. And I was awesome. So I got to go do that show for Netflix with him. And I worked on it for 3 or 4 months. And then the movie did happen. And I left in July, I think, and went to that instead. So, I think that's maybe the best advice is just be honest. Because he could have said no, and then I would have just been unemployed for 3 or 4 months, which would have sucked. But I would have felt better about doing that rather than kind of hiding it while I was doing the show.
My last question for you, it's kind of a 2-part question. If you're talking to a young first or really any first out there, what's a piece of advice you would give to that person? What's something you've learned that you're this is something that I think nobody taught me and something that I learned that I would want to pass on? And then what's a piece of advice that you would have given to yourself earlier in your career?
A piece of advice for another first. I mean, this sort of piggybacks on things I've already said, I think. Trusting the people you're working with. You don't have to do everything yourself. Be really on top of things, but also give yourself a break because it's a really hard job. What they ask you to do as a first is so many things all rolled into one. And it's really, honestly, probably too much for one person. You can't do it all. So I think it's okay if you can't do it all. That's just the way it is. Basically just don't be too hard on yourself about it. And then what was the other one?
Advice you to give into yourself, when you're starting in your career. Kind
of similar. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't get down when you have these career setbacks or what you perceive as setbacks, because they're not always setbacks. You think they are at the time, but they might actually not be. You just kind of have to be resilient. That's the same thing. Even when I literally first moved to LA, had I not been semi-resilient, I wouldn't have made it. In the beginning. But if you're out here and you're trying, you're not failing. Your path is just maybe a little different than what you thought it would be.
Great.
Awesome.
Do you want to go into our
Splice and spew?
Splice and spew.
You know what? I have a spew. So guys, I got really into this game called Satisfactory on the PC, and I blame Ian Hanna for getting me into this game. Last Saturday, I spent 6 hours trying to rebuild my factory. It is basically like a survival / you gotta build a factory on an alien planet, collect resources, and then like all these resources create one thing, which creates something else, which creates something else. So recipes get really, really complicated. There's also enemies. There's also a lot of things you can collect on this island. The map is fucking huge. I am in the process of creating a train to bring my resources from one factory to the next factory, because you need to, because you can't change the landscape. So like if you find like a crude oil deposit, can't move that. And you know what? There's only some recipes that you need crude oil to make an ingredient. But I play it and I have kind of a problem. I'm aware of it. The problem is that I have too much free time on my hands. And so I just need a job so that I won't keep playing Satisfactory.
Can you imagine when John Romero was making Doom, he would think 20 years later, everyone's going to be playing spreadsheet simulators, managing their crude oil deposits via trains. And that's what this industry is going to lead to. I am going to splice about public works and how it's really annoying. I think one of the things that we really get annoyed at in modern society is just the idea of being inconvenienced at all. And sometimes you're just like, I hate being inconvenienced. And this came up in my life because they were repaving my street the other day. And I was really annoyed because I was trapped inside my apartment. Like my car was trapped in its garage. I literally could not get it out. Like they were pouring tar in front of my house. And I remember being like, this is really annoying because Pokemon cards had come out and I wanted to go buy them at Target. And I could not buy them. So I had to get a Waymo to go to the Target to get Pokemon cards. Nevertheless, I was really annoyed by this. I was like, oh, this is really irritating. And like, I hate that they're doing this. And like, blah, blah. I was just like feeling so much in my head. But you know what? And now I have beautiful, fresh asphalt in front of my house. It smells fabulous. All the potholes are gone. And so sometimes, guys, we have to take a little bit of pain for society to get better.
Are you ready, Sarah?
Fix all the potholes.
Sure. I have something. I don't know if it's good, but you know what? We'll give it a shot. Okay. So I love feature films and all that stuff, but sometimes you just want to watch reality TV. So my friend and I, we watched The Bachelor together, and then we've also been watching Temptation Island, which is the most insane show ever. And these couples are awful. Like literally the very first episode, I'm like, break up. Obviously break up. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you here? I think you probably just want to become like an influencer, but like, and also maybe like hook up with people on the beach, I guess. But like, it's basically just like a massive group therapy session. And I'm just like, why don't you just go to couples therapy? Like, this would probably be a lot easier than going on a freaking reality TV show and exposing yourself to all this like social media hate. And like, you have to like see clips of your partner hooking up with other people. It's just insanity to me, but fun to watch.
One of the things Sarah and I bonded over first was our love of Temptation Island. I love Temptation Island.
Yeah, watch Temptation Island.
All right. Oh, Cassidy needs his license spew.
Okay, so my spew, I'm from the East Coast where people don't have cars as much sometimes, and so I walk really fast. And I'm also short, so it's like a survival tactic. And my biggest pet peeve right now is sometimes you're walking on a thin sidewalk, and there are like 5 people in a line who are taking up the whole sidewalk, and I don't know what to do. Because if I walk to the left of them and past them, okay, now I'm aggressive, and they're like, well, that guy's weird, he's walking so fast. But if I wait behind them, it's like, now I'm going to be late to do whatever I was doing. I don't know.
Or you look creepy. Sometimes just like walking slow. You're too close
behind.
You're behind him.
I don't care. I just pass them. I will walk.
You're like, don't overthink it. Just
I'll walk straight out into the middle of the road and pass them. I'm like, you're
walk into incoming
fast.
traffic.
Yep.
Tell everyone.
Like, you're walking way too slow, and I'm like, I don't fucking care. Move faster, guys. Like, come on. People got places to be. All right. Well,
all right, take us out, Leanne.
Thank you for listening to our episode of Sips and Clips. You keep on sipping, and we'll keep on clipping.
Bye.
Bye.
Sips and Clips is a podcast produced by Leanne McFalls and Michael Schusterman. Graphic by Max Schulman. Sound mixing by Cassidy Legan. Sound editing by Zach Griffin. Follow us on Instagram at Sips and Clips Pod. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.